This is the third installment of the new Toronto Mixtape series by Canadian rapper Tory Lanez, and this is actually his first release of the new Toronto series mixtape that he is releasing as a commercial mixtape. And Tory Lanez has been making headlines in recent time due to his mishmash of genres of clubby, trendy, sort of R&B, and of course hip-hop altogether. Truth be told, I've never been a fan of Tory Lanez. I never like his whole style of his very clubby and sort of trendy hip-hop-esque music. God, I sound so old saying that. Mostly I found his subject of money, sex, even his braggadocio, or even his like heartbreak. It just sounds so boring. He will now and then throw in a couple of songs about very personal things when he was growing up in his old neighborhood, how he was broke, and how the death of his friends affected him, in which I could always appreciate in sort of any artist, but it all matters in the way of execution. I've always found his wailing autotune and high-pitched singing to be so annoying in the end. But he will sneak in a couple of okay lines, memorable lines to say the most, even really good lines in my opinion. I mean, his Hot 95 freestyle was actually alright. It actually showed his skills as an artist, as an MC, and it goes to prove that he has a sort of battle rap aesthetics deep within him. So with that said, my morbid curiosity got the best of me, and I kind of want to check this out because this is actually his last project from Interscope Records. He is now independent and free. Am I expecting a lot from this project? Not really, given my preconceived notion and sort of perception about his art and music and his antics all together, but I was willing to give this a shot because, like I mentioned before, this is his last project from Interscope Records, as well as he did mention that the new Toronto series was a more serious tone project, and I was kind of hoping for that. So at the end of the day, what do I think about New Toronto 3 by Tory Lanez? Oh my god. This was a painful sit through. With that being said, it could have been worse. Honestly, I really thought it could have been worse. So let me get some positives out of this record, because there are a couple of positives that I wanted to highlight here. I thought the opening track, Pricey and Spicy, and the closing track, I'm actually going to read this because I don't remember from the top of my head, MSG for God's Children, was actually pretty decent. I thought his signature sort of auto-tune rapping style on Pricey and Spicy was alright, even though his auto-tune could be very grating in some moments, especially on the hook. But with that said, it did sort of match this sort of anthemic and triumphant feel of the track. And specifically for the track, I'm gonna read again, MSG for God's Children, I actually thought was pretty more than decent, and actually probably my favorite of the whole project. I actually quite liked his very steady flow and nocturnal beat, and these two elements sort of blend in together in a very harmonious way. And the haunting vocal sample in the background sort of adds the very grim and dark imagery of a broken society and sort of a broke neighborhood that Tory Lanez continuously see nowadays, and how at the end of the day he is thankful to God for getting him out of this rut, and he is thankful to God because he is not being fed junk food, MSG, by the whole neighborhood and society and whatnot. Dope Boy's Diary I thought was pretty decent as well, and I kind of want to say that some of the lines here were pretty decent, although I did found one line that was memorable but a bit on the edge of distasteful in this very uncertain times. Bitch, I'm opening the fire, catching bodies like corona in the virus. Yep. And in terms of theme, part of this album is quite dark and quite endearing. Tory Lanez wears his heart on his sleeves on tracks like Pain, Penthouse Red. Another track that I thought was actually good, was the track Adidas. I actually didn't mind it, and I thought it was one of the most heartbreaking cuts in this whole entire project. The track has this very sort of minimalistic beat and trickling and sort of quiet pianos lingering in the background, which actually provided Tory Lanez to shine a bit in this cut. The track talks about, in my opinion, very vivid and very detailed narratives about his very harsh upbringings, how he has to sell drugs to get by, how he was in massive, massive debt, and the fact that the death of his friends really, really affected him because he was just trying to take care of himself, staying out of trouble, but in that turn, losing a friend. In the song, he was very self-reflective. Like he says, I'm trying to be a leader, but shit, I'm falling in my past. The trap calling for this cash. I scraped the bottom of the stash. And R.I.P. Black, cause they done chop him into pieces. He was trying to duck polices. I was trying to duck the Reapers. Okay, with that done, let's talk about the rest of the album. Again, I've never been a fan of Tory and his style at all. I wasn't a fan of it then, and I wasn't a fan of it now. And if anything, this project sort of solidifies it. Like on the track Who Needs Love, he very derivatively talks about who needs affection, who needs empathy, who needs love from other people when you have all this wealth with you and, you know, the cliche stuff. I do sort of appreciate the attention to detail and songwriting in this particular track because he did manage to write a very earworm heavy and catchy melody here, but his high-pitched singing and obnoxious clubby flow and beat is just so annoying. And my god, I have to talk about the features here on 10 Fucks and Accidents Happen. They were either hideous or just plain boring and lifeless. And the point I want to get back to is that he did sort of manage to pull a sort of a dark-ish atmosphere off the last leg, very last leg of the album, maybe some sprinkle in the middle, a good part of the album, but most of the production I thought was just overproduced and sort of overstayed and welcome. And this is sort of the things that I really, really don't like. Even on endearing topics like upbringings, hustling, and sort of heartbreaks, it's just overproduced and overstayed in my opinion. It's overly glitzy, it's overly glamorous, it's overly heartbreaking, overly triumphant. At the end of the day, it's just an overly produced tones and atmosphere and beats, and Tory Lanez barely added anything to this project. Except for, I will say, 3 tracks, which is Pricey and Spicy, MSG for God's Children, and Adidas. And I always say, if you want your story to be anthemic, to be heartfelt, to be showing scars, you shouldn't let the beat do the work for you. You shouldn't let the sort of production do the work for you. In my opinion, you need to pen it with your lyrics, or at least pen it with your emotion. That's where I think the track Adidas really shines through. And the point I'm trying to make is the beat is the provider. You are the sort of elevator. You are the maestro that guides this any sort of project that you want to release out to the public. The track Stupid Again sort of is the main encapsulation of my distaste for his music. It's just a generic, clubby flow, clubby production, overly produced, Tory Lanez barely adding anything lyrically. Not that I'm expecting lyricism from him, maybe slightly, because I do know that he has a background in battle rap, but again, maybe that's just my wishful thinking. But I was just expecting something to break through the clutter. So with that said, like I mentioned before, I do not like this project. There were some moments here and there, but the majority I just can't, especially with his hideous auto-tune and high-pitched singing. It's annoying in the majority of this record. So with my statement being said, I actually want to tell you a story about a conversation me and my friend have about settings and music, and how different settings and music could actually highlight or decrease enjoyability of a certain album, of a certain music, of a certain artist, and so on and so forth. And I think I really need to pull this out on this particular review. He said he has a friend who is a DJ at a local club that he said to my friend, whenever he turns on Tory Lanez, the club goes essentially crazy and batshit, and all of these party people just singing and hollering Tory Lanez lyrics. With that in mind, I can totally see that, because when I think about it, the sort of overly produced, glamorous, glitzy tracks, I could imagine the bass knocking and the room shaking in a club and people just going crazy about it, not really minding of what he's actually saying and whatnot. So what I take from that is this album is not for me. I don't like it. But I do see where this sort of statement plays in when you take in the context of Tory Lanez as an artist, as a musician, as a rapper. But again, with that said, that doesn't mean I don't have a say in this. Tell you what, I actually prefer to listen to Migos' Culture than this. So thank you so much for watching this review of Tory Lanez' New Toronto 3 commercial mixtape thing. I am working on a sort of interesting project for this channel, and I hope you guys will like it. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon, hopefully with a new sort of variety of content. Peace!